Let me set the scene. A young man rows out alone from his ship. He's just going on a quick loop around the harbor. But when he comes back, he reaches to fasten his boat, misjudges. One foot lands awkwardly on the front of the little boat, and it gives way underneath him. The boat tips. He crashes into the water, and he doesn't know how to swim. He thrashes, shouting for help. No one comes. He gasps for air, chokes on the sea, and begins to sink. And that's when he knows he is going to drown. That's when he knows that this is the end. Right? That's a true story. The young man was Francis Beaufort, a future naval officer who would go on to build his whole career around the sea. He created a cipher and a scale that were later named after him and made significant accomplishments in nautical charting. So he did great for himself. But before all that, he drowned. And what he experienced, dying in the cold, dark water, left him certain of one thing. Death is not the end. It is the beginning. He slipped. He couldn't swim. The ship was far away. Nobody noticed. Every second was spent in this frantic motion, trying to stay afloat, screaming with a throat full of salty water. But then, everything stopped. And not in the way that you think. Decades before Beaufort's fall, Emanuel Swedenborg, a philosopher, mystic, and scientist, described this same moment not as an ending, but as a passage. When we die, we simply move from one world into another. In a letter to a friend, that's what Francis Beaufort described too. A death that wasn't destruction, but a calm continuation. From the moment that all exertion had ceased, a calm feeling of the most perfect tranquility succeeded the most tumultuous sensation. It's not what you'd expect. No panic, no terror, just a strange stillness. Beaufort goes on to describe that the calm he experienced was as seamless as going to sleep. There was no pain, no fear, just release. And although his body and physical senses slowed down, his mind woke up like never before. Beaufort remembered, thought rose after thought, with rapidity of succession that is not only indescribable, but probably inconceivable by anyone who has not been himself in a similar situation. His mind reviewed the dramatic events with remarkable awareness, revisiting his clumsy fall, even recalling that two men he had noticed peripherally jumped into the water to save him, just as he sank beneath the surface and felt his senses dulled. And yet his inner perception sharpened. He found himself reflecting on his present and his past, almost like time did not exist. He thought about the effect his death would have on his beloved father, how his father might break the news to the rest of the family, and his thoughts blossomed into thousands more relating to his home and home life. Beaufort was having what we would now call a life review, which is a common experience for many people who have come close to death. He remembered past ocean voyages, his time at school, all of his childhood pursuits and adventures. Beaufort continued, "Thus, traveling backwards, every incident of my past life seemed to me to glance across my recollection in retrograde procession. Not, however, in mere outline, as here stated, but the picture filled up, with every minute and collateral feature." Swedenborg learned that we have two kinds of memory, an outer one and an inner one. The outer memory is corporeal. It belongs to the physical body. But the inner memory, Swedenborg tells us, belongs to our spirit. So when Beaufort's outer memory faded, his inner memory took over, and he saw more than he imagined possible. Mental images by the tens of thousands from our inner memory enter into our outer memory as a single thought. The faculties that spirits have then, both their sensations and their thoughts and perceptions, are all fuller and more perfect. His whole life appeared before him, and not just the big decisions, but the little overlooked moments, the ones that he thought were lost. Each act of it seemed to be accompanied by a consciousness of right or wrong. Many trifling events, which had been long forgotten, then crowded into my imagination, and with the character of recent familiarity. He wasn't just remembering, he was knowing. He was seeing each choice he had made and feeling the weight that it carried. He wasn't being judged, he was just being shown. It was his life reflected back like a mirror of conscience. The inner memory is such that everything, absolutely everything we have ever thought, said, or done, from early infancy to extreme old age, is imprinted on it in the finest possible detail. This is our book of life. This wasn't judgment from the outside. This was a spirit reviewing its own record. No vague guilt, only clarity. Beaufort came from a religious family, so he was already instilled with lots of hopes and fears about what life after death would be like. And yet, his perspective was different at this moment than he would have imagined. Beaufort wonders, may not all this be some indication of the almost infinite power of memory with which we may awaken in another world and be compelled to contemplate our past lives? Or might it not in some degree warrant the inference that death is only a change or modification of our existence, in which there is no real pause or interruption? Imagine that. Death, only a change or modification of our existence. Or as Swedenborg put it, death is a continuation of life. Swedenborg isn't describing a cliff's edge where our souls just fall off into some eternal darkness. His words describe a life that carries onward to clarity. Not a single thought wandered into the future. I was wrapped entirely in the past. For Beaufort at that moment, eternity wasn't a distant promise. It was something he was looking back at, the reckoning with who he had become. What happened to Beaufort matches what Swedenborg described as the beginning of real spiritual change. Not just seeing our lives, but facing them. We cannot be reformed unless we look into ourselves, see and admit what is wrong with us, and then refrain from doing it. It follows that it is not just the outside that needs to be looked into, but the inside as well. Beaufort wasn't punished. He was just invited to change. That's what a life review does. It prepares you to move forward with insight, without shame. Beaufort had all of these thoughts, revelations, visions, memories happen, and felt lost in time. Writing further, the length of time that was occupied by this deluge of ideas, or rather, the shortness of time into which they were condensed, I cannot now state with precision. It had been less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes that contained a lifetime. In the spiritual world, there are no physical units of space or corresponding units of time, yet there appear to be. Apparent space and time follow the different states of mind that spirits and angels go through there. The units of spiritual time and space match the desires of their will and the resulting thoughts in their intellect. He lived. Some people got him out of the water and resuscitated him, and he was fine. And what he did next turned his near death into a gift, one that helped countless others survive the sea. He invented the Beaufort scale, which lets sailors around the world gauge wind without instruments. It's still used today. He helped Charles Darwin get onto the HMS Beagle, leading to his revolutionary discoveries. He mapped oceans. He saved lives. One life carries on into the other, and death is only a passage. Sir Francis Beaufort stepped into the spiritual world just long enough to remember his life in detail. His story can help us have faith that life continues even after we leave this realm. But it also reminds us that what we do here, what we create, how we live, how we treat others, all of it matters. Maybe we don't need to die to reflect on how we're living. Maybe the review starts now, if we're willing to look. Hey, thanks for watching the NDE files. Hope you enjoyed this episode. What we're trying to do in this show is make sense of the afterlife. We're trying to take the experiences of Emanuel Swedenborg, which are just incredibly extensive and structural, and match them up with experiences throughout history so that we can try to understand what's really going on with the life after death, so that we can get a good sense of what this reality we're in is, and hopefully have not just comfort, but action steps of how we can live rightly in that. So please like, please subscribe. That helps our channel get out there, and leave a comment. We're going to respond to every comment that you put here because we want to know what you think. Thanks for watching.